The weight of betrayal. My name is Jake. I'm from the United States, and this is my painful confession. Maybe saying it out loud will make it hurt a little less. The beginning, I loved her for 10 years, since college. Her name was Emma, and I still remember the exact moment I first saw her. It was freshman orientation, late August, one of those sweltering days where the air feels thick enough to swim through. She was wearing a sundress covered in tiny yellow flowers, and she was laughing at something her roommate had said. That laugh, God, that laugh could light up an entire room. We didn't start dating right away. First we were friends, then best friends, then something more. By junior year, we were inseparable. After graduation, we rented an apartment together. A cramped one-bedroom in Brooklyn with water stains on the ceiling, and a radiator that clanked like a ghost was trapped inside. But it was ours. We fought over stupid things. She'd leave wet towels on the bed. I'd forget to buy milk for the third time in a week. She hated how I loaded the dishwasher. I couldn't stand how she'd start 10 different projects and finish none of them. But we always made up in the kitchen in the middle of the night, standing in our pajamas, eating ice cream straight from the container, laughing about how ridiculous we were being. We made plans for the future, big plans. We talked about getting a dog, buying a house upstate, having kids someday. We'd lie in bed on Sunday mornings, her head on my chest, and dream out loud about what our life would look like in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. I thought it was forever. I really did. I also had a best friend. His name was Marcus. We met the same year I met Emma. Same dorm floor, same terrible meal plan, same hatred for our 8 a.m. economics class. Marcus was the kind of friend who'd help you move without complaint, who'd pick up the phone at 3 a.m. if you needed him, who knew all your secrets and never judged. He was my brother in every way that mattered. The three of us were a unit. Friday nights were our nights. We'd rotate who chose the movie, who chose the takeout, who chose the drinks. Emma and I would host Thanksgiving because Marcus's family lived overseas. Marcus would crash on our couch more weekends than not because his own place was depressing and lonely. We were family. The unraveling, looking back now, I can see the signs. I didn't want to see them then. Emma started working late more often. She'd come home at 9, 10, sometimes 11 at night, smelling like the office, coffee and printer toner and stress. She said they were working on a big project, that her boss was demanding, that she was up for a promotion. I believed her because why wouldn't I? She became distant, not all at once, but gradually, like the way winter creeps in. She'd be on her phone more, smiling at texts she wouldn't share. When I'd ask who she was talking to, she'd say just work stuff, or just Sarah from the office. She stopped reaching for my hand when we walked down the street. She stopped initiating sex. When we did make love, she seemed somewhere else, going through the motions. Marcus started acting weird too. He'd cancel our weekly basketball games, saying he was swamped with work. He'd avoid eye contact when the three of us were together. Once, I walked into a room and they were talking in low voices, and they both went silent when they saw me. Emma said they were planning a surprise for my birthday. My birthday was 4 months away. I told myself I was being paranoid. I told myself that relationships go through phases, that we'd been together so long it was natural for things to feel less exciting. I told myself that Marcus was my best friend and could never betray me like that. One Tuesday evening in October, Emma came home and sat down on the couch next to me. I was watching a game, half paying attention. She muted the TV and turned to face me, and I knew something was wrong by the look on her face. "I need to talk to you," she said. Those 5 words, they're etched into my memory like a scar. "I think I need some time," she continued. "Some space. I'm not happy, Jake. I haven't been happy for a while." I felt like someone had punched me in the chest. "What are you talking about? What do you mean you're not happy? Why didn't you say something?" "I'm saying something now. Is there someone else?" The pause before she answered told me everything I needed to know. "No," she said, but her eyes couldn't meet mine. She moved out that weekend, took her clothes, her books, her half of the kitchen supplies. The apartment felt enormous and empty without her. I kept expecting to hear her key in the lock, to wake up and find it was all a nightmare. The discovery 2 weeks later, I saw them together. I was meeting some college friends at a bar in the East Village. I was running late, rushing down the street, when I saw them through the window of a coffee shop. Marcus and Emma, sitting across from each other at a small table. He was holding her hand. She was crying. He leaned over and kissed her forehead, tender and familiar, like he'd done it 1,000 times before. I stood there on the sidewalk, frozen, while people flowed around me like water around a stone. I watched him wipe her tears away. I watched her lean into his touch. I watched them in this intimate moment and realized that this wasn't new. This had been happening. For how long? Weeks? Months? How many times had they sat together like this while I was at work, while I was sleeping, while I was planning our future? I didn't go into the coffee shop. I didn't confront them. I turned around and walked home, and I don't remember a single step of that walk. When I got back to the apartment, I looked at my phone. 17 unread messages from Marcus over the past few weeks. Hey man, wanna grab a beer? We should catch up. Haven't seen you in a while. Each message a little act of cowardice, trying to maintain the friendship while destroying it from the inside. I blocked his number. I blocked Emma's number. I blocked them both on every social media platform. I erased them from my life with a few taps of my finger, wishing it were that easy to erase them from my heart. The silence, the worst part, wasn't the betrayal itself. It was the silence that came after. The love disappeared. The friendship disappeared. All that was left was me and memories that no longer brought any warmth. Memories that now felt contaminated, poisoned. Every happy moment we'd shared now had a question mark hanging over it. Was she thinking about him even then? When had it started? Had Marcus been in love with her all along? Sitting there at our Thanksgiving table, sleeping on our couch, smiling at our happiness while wanting it for himself? I became obsessed with the timeline. I'd lie awake at night, staring at the ceiling, trying to pinpoint the exact moment when everything changed. Was it the company retreat Emma went on in June? The weekend Marcus said he was visiting family but came back with a tan that looked more like beach vacation than family obligation? The New Year's Eve party where I got drunk and fell asleep early, leaving the two of them to bring in the new year without me? The silence was deafening. No phone calls, no emails, no explanations. Just absence where there used to be presence. The apartment still smelled like Emma's shampoo. Marcus's favorite mug was still in my kitchen cabinet. The one with the stupid joke about coffee that he'd left there months ago. These small ghosts haunted me. I'd wake up in the morning and reach for Emma before remembering she was gone. I'd see something funny and pull out my phone to text Marcus before remembering I'd blocked him. My body hadn't caught up with my reality yet. Friends tried to help. You're better off without her, they'd say. He was never really your friend. There are plenty of fish in the sea. But their words slid off me like rain off glass. They didn't understand. They couldn't understand. I didn't just lose a girlfriend. I didn't just lose a best friend. I lost my entire life as I knew it. I lost the future I'd been building toward. I lost my sense of judgment. If I couldn't see this coming, what else was I blind to? What I started doing at first, I did nothing. I just sat there paralyzed. For 3 days after I saw them together, I called in sick to work. I didn't shower. I barely ate. I sat on the couch in the same spot where Emma had told me she needed space, and I replayed every moment of our relationship, searching for signs I'd missed. The apartment felt too big and too small at the same time. Too big because I was alone in it, too small because the walls felt like they were closing in. I drank too much. I'd come home from work and pour myself a whiskey, then another, until the edges of the pain got fuzzy and I could almost pretend it didn't hurt. I'd fall asleep on the couch with the TV on, wake up at 3 a.m. with a headache and a hollow feeling in my chest, drag myself to bed, and do it all over again the next day. I went through the anger phase. I punched a wall and broke 2 knuckles, which was stupid and painful and didn't make me feel any better. I screamed in my car with the windows rolled up. I wrote texts I never sent, full of rage and hurt and questions that had no good answers. I fantasized about confronting them, about making them feel even a fraction of what I was feeling. But anger is exhausting, and eventually I didn't have the energy for it anymore. Then I started running. Every morning at dawn, before the world woke up, I'd lace up my sneakers and run. At first, I could barely make it around the block, but I kept at it. I'd run until my legs burned and my lungs screamed and my mind went mercifully blank. Physical pain was easier to understand than what I felt inside. Physical pain had a clear cause and a clear solution: you push your body. It hurts, you stop, it gets better. Emotional pain didn't have that simplicity. I started running 6 miles a day, then 8, then 10. I ran in the rain. I ran in the cold. I ran until I was too tired to think, too tired to feel, too tired to do anything but collapse into bed and sleep dreamlessly. Running became my meditation, my therapy, my salvation. Out there on the road, it was just me and the pavement and the steady rhythm of my feet hitting the ground. No memories could catch me if I ran fast enough. No questions could haunt me if my mind was focused on breathing, on form, on the next mile marker. I signed up for a marathon. It gave me something to train for, a goal that had nothing to do with relationships or trust or betrayal. Just me versus the distance. I could control this. I could measure my progress. And when I crossed that finish line 6 months later, exhausted and elated, it was the first time in months I felt like I'd accomplished something. I threw myself into work. I stayed late, took on extra projects, volunteered for things no one else wanted. My boss noticed. "Jake, you're doing great work. But are you okay? You've been here past 8 every night this week." I told her I was fine. I wasn't fine, but work was a blessed distraction. At work, I could be competent. I could solve problems that actually had solutions. I could lose myself in spreadsheets and presentations and conference calls and forget, for a few hours, that my personal life had imploded. I got promoted, felt hollow, like, great. My career is advancing while my personal life is in shambles. Who cares about a better title and more money when you go home to an empty apartment every night? But it was something. It was proof that I could still function, still succeed, even when I felt like I was falling apart. I started writing, not for anyone else, just for me. I bought a leather-bound journal and filled it with pages and pages of anger, confusion, grief. I wrote letters to Emma that I'd never send, asking all the questions that haunted me. When did you stop loving me? Was it something I did or something I didn't do? Did you ever really love me at all? Or was I just convenient until something better came along? I wrote letters to Marcus too. How could you? We were brothers. I trusted you with everything. You sat at my table, drank my beer, slept on my couch, and the whole time you were betraying me. Did you laugh about me together? Did you pity me for being so blind? I wrote about the good times, trying to hold onto something pure before the betrayal contaminated all of it. I wrote about the first time Emma said she loved me, about the road trip Marcus and I took to Nashville, about Sunday mornings and Friday nights and all the small, beautiful moments that made up a life. Writing became a way to externalize the pain, to get it out of my head and onto paper where I could look at it, examine it, maybe start to understand it. Some nights I'd write until my hand cramped, until I'd filled 10 pages with my messy handwriting, until I'd exhausted all the thoughts swirling in my brain. I cut contact completely. It was the hardest thing I did, but also the most necessary. I blocked their numbers, unfollowed them on social media, avoided places we used to go together. Our favorite brunch spot, the bar where we'd watch games, the bookstore where Emma could spend hours browsing, all off limits now. I learned new routes to work to avoid passing Marcus's apartment building. I found new coffee shops, new restaurants, new parks to run in. It felt cowardly, like I was running away, but I knew that seeing them would pull me back under every single time. I couldn't heal if I kept reopening the wound. I couldn't move forward if I kept looking back. Friends would sometimes mention them. I saw Emma the other day, or Marcus was asking about you, and I'd have to stop them. I don't want to know. Please don't tell me. Some friends understood. Others thought I was being immature, that I needed to get closure or talk it out. But they didn't understand. Closure is a myth. Some things don't get resolved. You just learn to live with the unresolved. 6 months after the breakup, I heard through mutual friends that Emma and Marcus were officially together. Living together, actually, in a new apartment in Queens. The news hit me like a freight train. I guess part of me had been hoping it was just a fling, that they'd realize what they'd done and it would fall apart. But no, they'd destroyed 2 relationships and built a new one from the rubble. I let myself grieve that night. I drank a bottle of wine, looked through old photos for the first time since the breakup, and cried. Really cried. The kind of sobbing that comes from somewhere deep in your chest. And then I deleted all the photos. Every single one. Cleared them from my phone, from my computer, from the cloud. If they wanted to build a life together, fine, but I didn't have to keep monuments to what they destroyed. Rebuilding slowly, I began rebuilding. It wasn't a straight line. Some days I felt okay, almost normal. Other days the grief would ambush me out of nowhere. A song on the radio. Someone's laugh that sounded like Emma's. The smell of Marcus's cologne on a stranger walking by. I reconnected with old friends I'd neglected. When you're in a long-term relationship, especially one that includes a best friend in the dynamic, it's easy to let other friendships slide. I reached out to college buddies I hadn't talked to in years, former coworkers, cousins I'd lost touch with. Some of those conversations were awkward, explaining what had happened, why I'd been MIA, why I was suddenly reaching out now. But some of them blossomed into real reconnections. I met up with my old roommate from sophomore year, Tom, who I hadn't seen in person in 5 years. We grabbed beers and talked for hours, and it felt like no time had passed. Tom didn't know Emma well, had never met Marcus, so he didn't carry any of that baggage. He just knew me as Jake. Not as Jake who got cheated on or Jake who's going through a hard time. With him, I could just be myself. I picked up hobbies I'd abandoned. I used to play guitar, but I'd let it collect dust in the corner because Emma complained about the noise and I was too lazy to practice when she wasn't around. I started playing again, my fingers clumsy and unpracticed at first, slowly building back the calluses and the muscle memory. I wasn't good, but I was improving, and that felt significant. I took a woodworking class. I'd always wanted to try it, but it felt like one of those things I'd get around to someday. Well, someday was now. Every Tuesday evening, I'd go to the community center and learn to work with my hands, to create something tangible from raw materials. I built a bookshelf, then a coffee table, then a bench for my tiny balcony. It was meditative, focusing on the grain of the wood, the precision of the measurements, the satisfaction of fitting pieces together into something whole. I traveled to places we'd never been together. Emma hated camping, so I'd never gone. I planned a solo camping trip to the Adirondacks, 3 days alone in the woods with just a tent, a sleeping bag, and my thoughts. It was terrifying and liberating in equal measure. At night, lying under the stars, listening to the sounds of the forest, I felt more at peace than I had in a year. I went to New Orleans for a long weekend. Neither Emma nor Marcus had ever been there, so there were no memories to haunt me. I ate beignets for breakfast, listened to jazz on Bourbon Street, walked through the French Quarter alone, and actually enjoyed the solitude. I was learning that being alone didn't have to mean being lonely. I started therapy. I'd resisted it for a long time because, like a lot of guys, I'd internalized this idea that asking for help was weakness. But one particularly bad day, I finally looked up therapists covered by my insurance and booked an appointment. Dr. Chun was in her 50s, warm but no nonsense. She didn't let me wallow in self-pity, but she also didn't rush me through my grief. She helped me understand that betrayal trauma is real trauma, that what I was experiencing was a normal response to an abnormal situation. She taught me about attachment styles, about how childhood experiences shape adult relationships, about the difference between healthy and unhealthy coping mechanisms. She was the one who pointed out that I'd never really been angry at myself, only at them. Do you think you played any role in what happened? She asked one session. I bristled. Are you saying it's my fault she cheated? Not at all. Their actions are their responsibility. But I'm asking if there are things you learned about yourself from this relationship ending. I thought about it. I guess I took her for granted sometimes. I thought because we'd been together so long, I didn't have to try as hard. I stopped planning dates, stopped surprising her, stopped asking about her day in a way that showed I really cared about the answer. And that's valuable insight, Dr. Chen said. Not because it excuses what they did, but because it's something you can carry forward. You can't control other people's choices, but you can control your own. Therapy helped me reframe the narrative I'd been telling myself. I wasn't a victim whose life had been ruined. I was someone who'd experienced a profound loss and was choosing to rebuild. The power was mine. I started dating again, though cautiously. The first few dates were disasters. I was suspicious of everyone, reading betrayal into innocent comments, waiting for the other shoe to drop. One woman mentioned she had a close male friend, and I immediately shut down, convinced it was Emma and Marcus all over again. But slowly, I learned to trust again. Not blindly, I'd never be that naive again, but consciously, choosing to believe that not everyone was going to hurt me the way they had. I met someone. Her name is Rachel, and she's nothing like Emma. She's a high school teacher, warm and patient and completely transparent. She doesn't play games. When she says she's working late, she sends me a picture of her classroom and the stack of papers she's grading. When she has plans with friends, she tells me who and where and invites me along if it's appropriate. She's rebuilding trust in me just by being consistently, boringly honest. I told Rachel the whole story on our 5th date. I figured she deserved to know what she was getting into, what baggage I was carrying. She listened without judgment, and when I finished, she said, "Thank you for trusting me with that." I know it couldn't have been easy to share. Does it scare you off? I asked. No. Tells me you've been hurt and you're working through it. That's not a red flag. That's being human. We've been together for 8 months now. I still have moments of paranoia, moments where I check her phone or ask too many questions, but I'm working on it. She's patient with me, and I'm patient with myself. Looking back, 2 years have passed since that Tuesday evening when Emma told me she needed space. 2 years since I saw them together in that coffee shop window. The pain didn't disappear. I don't think it ever fully will. Betrayal leaves a mark that doesn't fade completely, but it transformed into something I could carry. A scar instead of an open wound. I ran into Marcus last month. I was picking up coffee before work, and he walked in as I was waiting for my order. We made eye contact, and for a second, neither of us moved. Then he walked over. "Jake," he said. Hey. Silence. "What do you say to someone who was your brother and is now a stranger?" "How are you?" he asked. "I'm good. You?" "Good. Yeah, good." More silence. "I'm sorry," he said finally. "I know that doesn't mean much now, but I am. What I did. What we did. There's no excuse." I nodded. A year ago, this moment would have destroyed me. 6 months ago, I might have punched him. But now, I just felt tired. "I hope you're happy," I said, and I meant it. Not because I forgave him. I don't know if I ever will, but because holding on to the anger was exhausting. His happiness or unhappiness didn't affect me anymore. "You look good," he said. "Really good. Thanks. I've been working on it." My coffee was ready. I grabbed it and turned to leave. "Jake," he called after me. "If you ever want to talk." "I don't," I said, not cruelly, just honestly. "Take care of yourself, Marcus." I walked out feeling lighter than I had in 2 years. I didn't need his apology or his explanation. I didn't need closure from him because I'd built my own closure piece by piece over the past 24 months. The lessons I learned that sometimes the person you become after betrayal is stronger than the person you were before, even if you never wanted to learn that lesson. I learned that trust is a choice, not a given. I learned that love without honesty is just a beautiful lie. I learned that you can't control what other people do, but you can control how you respond. I learned that healing isn't linear. Some days you take 3 steps forward, other days you take 2 steps back. But as long as you keep moving, keep trying, keep choosing yourself, you'll get there. I learned that being alone isn't the worst thing that can happen to you. Being with someone who makes you feel alone, that's worse. And I learned that I'm more resilient than I ever knew. I survived something I didn't think I could survive. I rebuilt a life I didn't think I could rebuild. I learned to trust again, to love again, to hope again. The apartment doesn't feel empty anymore. I redecorated, got rid of the furniture that reminded me of her, bought new things that were just mine. I adopted a dog, a rescue mutt named Charlie, who greets me at the door every evening with the kind of unconditional love that humans can't always provide. I run with him now instead of alone, and somehow that makes it better. I still write in my journal, but the entries are different now. Less pain, more reflection. More gratitude for what I have instead of grief for what I lost. I write about the marathon I'm training for, about the bookshelf I'm building, about the way Rachel laughs at my terrible jokes. I'm planning a trip to Iceland next month, to somewhere I've always wanted to go, and I'm going alone because I've learned that I'm good company for myself. I don't need someone else to validate my experiences or make them meaningful. My relationship with my family has gotten stronger. When everything fell apart, I retreated from them, ashamed and hurt and not wanting to explain. But eventually I opened up, and they were there for me in ways I didn't expect. My mom flew out to stay with me for a week. My dad, who's never been good with emotions, sent me a text every morning for 6 months. Thinking of you, son. My sister invited me to every family event, never making me feel like a third wheel even when I was the only single person there. I've learned to set boundaries. I don't let people take advantage of my kindness anymore. I don't ignore red flags or make excuses for behavior that doesn't align with someone's words. I've learned that it's okay to walk away from people who don't treat me with respect, even if it's painful, even if they've been in my life for a long time. I've learned to forgive myself for not seeing it coming. For a long time, I beat myself up over that. How could I have been so blind? How could I not have known? But Dr. Chun helped me understand that love makes us vulnerable, and vulnerability isn't weakness. It's actually one of the bravest things we can do. The fact that I trusted them completely wasn't my failure. It was theirs. The present today, I'm okay. More than okay, actually. I'm happy. It's not the happiness I imagined back when Emma and I were making plans for the future. It's different, quieter, more hard one. But it's mine, and no one can take it away from me. I see my future differently now. It's not as clearly defined as it used to be. I don't have a 10-year plan anymore, but I have goals. I want to run the Boston Marathon. I want to build a dining table from scratch. I want to travel to Japan. I want to be a good partner to Rachel, if that's where we're headed. I want to be a better friend, a better son, a better version of myself. I don't think about Emma and Marcus every day anymore. Sometimes a whole week will go by without them crossing my mind. When I do think about them, it doesn't hurt the way it used to. It's more like remembering an old injury. You know it happened, you can see the scar, but the pain is just a memory now. I wonder sometimes if they're happy together, if what they did was worth it, if they feel guilty. But then I realize it doesn't matter. Their story is their story, and mine is mine. They chose their path and I've chosen mine. And honestly, I like where my path is leading. I'm grateful in a strange way for what happened. I wouldn't choose to go through it again, not for anything. But it taught me things I needed to learn. It showed me what I'm capable of surviving. It forced me to rebuild myself into someone I actually like, someone I'm proud to be. The old Jake, the one from before the betrayal, he was a good guy, but he was complacent. He took things for granted. He didn't know how strong he was because he'd never been tested. The new Jake knows. The new Jake has been broken and put himself back together. The new Jake knows that he can survive anything. My name is Jake. I'm from the USA. This was my painful confession. And you know what? Saying it out loud did make it hurt a little less. Maybe that's the final lesson. That healing comes from speaking your truth, from acknowledging your pain, from refusing to hide from what happened. You can't change the past, but you can choose how you carry it forward. I carry mine like a scar now, not with shame, but with the quiet pride of someone who survived something that should have destroyed him. I'm still here. I'm still standing. I'm still capable of love and trust and hope. And that, I think, is the real victory. The betrayal didn't break me. It just showed me how strong I actually am.